Good afternoon and welcome to the City Council meeting for the City of International Falls for Monday, August 19, 2019. We'd ask all to please arise and pledge allegiance to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Ask the City Administrator to note the roll call. Member Deach is on vacation with his family. We'll move to the agenda, and we have additions to the agenda under new business. Item 1, a consideration for suspending calendar parking. Item number 2, a application for an off-site gambling permit. And then under correspondence, the letter that was presented to the Couchiching County Planning and Zoning Commission in support of the zoning and conditional use permit for the extreme cold weather testing site. Your pleasure then with the agenda and the additions.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, please.
May I add one more item to the agenda, and then I would approve the agenda with item number 5 being a letter of support for the border-to-border broadband initiative.
So your request is to add a additional item under new business for a letter of support for the broadband initiative?
Border-to-border broadband initiative.
Border-to-border, thank you.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion by Councillor Droba and second by Councillor Kraus to approve the agenda with the additions. Discussion on the motion or the agenda? Hearing none, question?
Aye.
Aye.
I would vote yes. Motion is carried and the agenda is approved with the additions. Thank you. We'll move to the minutes of the Committee of the Whole meeting on August the 5th, 2019. Council's pleasure with the Committee of the Whole minutes.
Move to.
Motion by Kraus.
Second.
Second by Buller. Discussion on the motion or the minutes? Hearing none, question?
Aye.
Aye.
I would vote yes. Motion is carried. Minutes are approved for the Committee of the Whole. And then we have the regular City Council meeting on August the 5th. Pleasure with those minutes.
So moved.
Motion by Councillor Buller.
Second.
Second by Councillor Kraus. Discussion on the motion or the minutes? Question?
Aye.
Aye.
I would vote yes. Motion is carried, and minutes for the regular council meeting are approved. Thank you. Move to the resolution on transfers and accounts payable claims. The transfers to the general fund from the Water and Sewer Fund, $9,951.67. To the Permanent Improvement Fund from the Water and Sewer Fund, $66,666.66, and to the Reserve for Capital Outlay from the Water and Sewer Fund, $25,760.42. On accounts payable claims, we have the City of International Falls at $322,533.83. Airport Commission claims of $2,162.92. And Airport Commission claims for the Phase 1 of the runway reconstruction, $1,061,149.76. And for the International Falls Public Library claims of $5,594.01. Your pleasure with the resolution approving the transfers and the payment of claims.
So moved.
Motion by Councillor Droba.
Second.
Second by Councillor Buller to adopt the resolution. Discussion on the resolution, the transfers, or the payment of claims. Hearing none, question?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
And I would vote yes. Motion is carried. Resolution is adopted approving the transfers and the payment of claims. Thank you. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to approach the council at this time that is not on the agenda? There'll be another opportunity at the close of the meeting for audience participation. We will move to the opening of bids, and we have the low bid and the first reading of the ordinance to approve the reconstruction of 14th Avenue. The bid is from Bowman Asphalt Products Incorporated in the amount of $380,489, and to authorize the signatures. This would be the first reading and acceptance of that low bid. Council's pleasure.
Move to accept.
Motion by Councilor Kraus to accept.
I'll second.
Second by Councilor Droba. Questions or discussions with regard to the bid?
Well, I would just like to point out that the second bid above this would have been about $67,000 more. So it was the low bid, and it's under the engineer's estimate by about $80,000, so I think it's a good bid.
Thank you. Very, very good bid, Councilor Buller. I think that can be very helpful. Councilor Droba, please.
And all of these projects will be finished this summer? Is that still the plan?
That's the plan. Now, I guess maybe that leads to a question. Should we plan, on next Monday, August the 26th, we have a 3 o'clock meeting of the Budget Committee. Should we plan a special meeting of the council to have the second reading, given our ordinance is one that's got to have 2 readings and publication for it to be in effect?
Mayor, Council, I would say that you could do that, but I would point out that the ordinance or the charter requires a 7-day time frame between the first reading and the second reading minimum. So it would have to be a time after 4:45 to
5 o'clock on the 26th would work?
That would work.
Okay. That'll be a separate action. I'm just bringing that up, building on what Councilor Droba said here.
Could you amend the initial motion?
Well, I think we should do a separate action to set a special meeting, but let's take the action on the low bid.
One more thing, I think the deadline on this was for the 15th of October.
Right.
For
Yes.
the project to be completed.
Be completed. And I believe it includes 500 feet of Shorewood and 8th Avenue East also, I think, are part of that
Yes, it
project.
does, and 14th.
Yes. All right, further questions or discussions with regard to accepting the low bid and having the first reading of the ordinance to accept that bid and do the reconstruction on 14th Avenue and other streets? Hearing none, question.
Aye.
Aye.
And I would vote yes. Motion is carried, and the first reading is approved. And if there's a will of the council to have a meeting next Monday, August the 26th at 5 p.m.
So moved.
Motion by Councilor Kraus,
Second.
second by Councilor Buller to have a special city council meeting Monday, August the 26th at 5 p.m. Discussion on that motion? Hearing none, question.
Aye.
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 I would vote yes. Motion is carried, and the meeting will be held at 5 p.m., special meeting of the council on Monday to consider the second reading of the ordinance on that project. Thank you. We'll move to consent agenda. 3 items under the consent agenda to approve the professional and technical services contract amendment number 2 between the State of Minnesota and the City of International Falls Fire Department, reflecting transition from the Homeland Security and Emergency Management to the State Fire Marshal Division, and authorizing the necessary signatures. Item number 2 is to approve and allow the necessary expenses for 2 administrative staff to attend the Civic Systems 19th Annual Symposium, September 12th and 13th in Wisconsin Dells. And item number 3 is a license with Curb Appeal Lawn Care for a snowplow license. Your pleasure with the consent agenda.
Move to approve.
Motion by Councilor Kraus to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Second by Councilor Buller. Consent agenda does not have any discussion, so I would call the question.
Aye.
I would vote yes. Motion is carried. Consent agenda is approved. Thank you. We'll move to new business. Item number 1 is to consider the request to suspend calendar parking in the 2-block area around 125 Park Avenue on Saturday, September 7, 2019, for an auction. Want to come up and give us,
Don't really need to speak on it, pretty plain and simple.
okay? And do you, I guess it would be helpful if you just came up to the microphone and just give your name and address and
Mark Winsness, 809 2nd Street,
thank you, Mark.
presenting Auction North.
Okay, and the auction would be starting about what time?
The start time is 9:30. Ending time is up in the air as to whenever we get done.
Okay, so it could be,
A crowd's going to start appearing about 7 o'clock a.m.
to start viewing?
going probably well into the 8, 9 o'clock p.m. hours.
Okay. All right, council's pleasure then with the request to suspend calendar parking in the 2-block area around 125 Park Avenue for one day.
One day.
Not closing the road.
Not closing the road, just the calendar parking.
I'll move.
Motion by Councilor Kraus, second by Councilor Buller. Discussion on the motion or calendar parking?
I would just like to hear the thoughts of the police chief on the action.
I have no issue with it.
No issues.
Councilor Kraus, please.
Is Park Avenue wide enough to allow emergency vehicles through? Say something were to happen, say an ambulance needed to get through, would that be possible, Chief? Yep. With vehicles parked on either side? Okay, thank you.
And that 2-block area would encompass Riverview Boulevard.
And home lane, it's home lane, correct, along the highway?
No,
Wayside.
Wayside Lane.
Wayside lane?
Yep.
Yeah.
Any questions there, Chief?
No, I think on that side of the road, it's Highway Lane, Park Avenue.
Highway Lane, thank you.
Center Street and Riverview. Riverview's a little bit narrow, but depending on what the traffic is, I mean, if most of it's on Park Avenue, it shouldn't be an issue.
All right. Other questions?
I just want to have some thoughts.
Okay.
So, as just calendar parking, it's a sensitive issue in our community, so I just want to have the conversation and a little background. So we have suspended calendar parking for the 4th of July for that activity. We are not suspending, or we were not asked to suspend calendar parking for the bass tournament. Without council approval, we have laid off calendar parking for the PCA mill shutdown. And I'm just wondering what policies we need to have in place so we know when we're doing it and when we're not. I understand this is going to have more people in one dense area. I think that that's fantastic, and it's good commerce, and it's a local person that's doing the thing. I just want to know where. I don't believe anything is a precedent. I don't believe that I also believe everything has its own merit, and so I just want to think about all of the things that we've done with calendar parking. There's people that are upset because we're doing calendar parking. There's people upset when we don't do calendar parking. So I just want to know where we're at when we cease calendar parking for one day for one event or one area, and what our responsibilities are when we do that. And Mark brought this to me, so
Add something to this?
Yeah, please.
No, this is a new corporation. I bought out the previous owners of Border Country Auctions, who I've worked for 18 years. This is the first time we've ever came to the city to ask about calendar parking issues. We went to the city previously for street closures when we do auctions in town, but never just for the calendar parking, and it's because of the new enforcement.
Right.
just being proactive on that, because you don't want to stop an auction in the middle so people can rush out and move their cars because everyone's getting tickets.
Understandable.
So,
So you're,
The last statement you said was each one individually, each time it comes up to us, it's individually.
And I'm fine with that. I think that that's how it should be. I think everything should come to the council, everything should have its own merit, and I agree with that. I just want to make sure that everyone else is on the same page, that we're having this conversation. I think what Mark did is incredibly commendable, to bring it to a councilor, to bring it to the city council. I think what he did is absolutely right, and everything needs to be viewed at its own merit. And this is a 2-block stretch. The fire chief said he doesn't think it would be a problem for emergency services, and the police chief has said that he doesn't see an issue with it. I just want to make sure that all of the calendar parking things are coming forward. We're not just having things like happened with PCA where it didn't come to our council. I think we need to have things come to the council and have official action, because that's what it says in our ordinance, that we can waive calendar parking. So
just having a policy in place would be helpful to those of us in the community. To know that we have to come get permission. We can't leave it to the last minute.
all right. Further questions or discussion?
Mayor, for clarification,
City Administrator, please.
excuse me, so from my understanding, the roads that calendar parking will not apply to include Park Lane, Center Lane, Riverside Boulevard, and Highway Lane on September 7th. That one day, is that correct?
That would be my understanding.
Okay. And for the council's information and the public's, we do have an ordinance that stipulates required calendar parking, and there is a provision in the ordinance that allows the council to make exceptions on a request basis, I believe the language is. So it's in our existing ordinance. We don't have a separate policy that addresses anything in more detail than that.
All right. No further discussion? Question?
Aye.
And I would vote yes. Motion is carried. Calendar parking is suspended. September 7th. Thank you.
I didn't think that was coming.
I'll tell the names.
Thank you.
Have a good day, Joe.
Thank you.
You okay?
That was a hard one.
Item number 2 under new business is to adopt a resolution approving the application to conduct an off-site gambling for the Rainier Recreation Club on October 6th, 2019 at the Elks Lodge, number 1599.
I so move.
Motion by Councillor Bullard to approve.
I'll second.
Second by Councillor Kraus. Discussion on the motion or the application for the off-site gambling permit. Hearing none, question.
Aye.
And I would vote yes. Motion is carried. Resolution is adopted approving the application for the off-site gambling permit for the Rainier Recreation Club on October the 6th at the Elks Club. Thank you. Excuse me. Item number 3 under new business is to accept the letter of resignation from Katie Killebang, the emergency medical technician, effective September the 1st, 2019.
Move to accept with regret.
Motion by Councillor Kraus to accept the resignation with regret.
I'll second.
Second by Councillor Droba. Discussion on the motion or the resignation. Hearing no discussion, question?
Aye.
Aye.
I would vote yes. Motion is carried. Resignation is accepted. Thank you. Item number 4 under new business is to accept the letter of resignation from Jacob Harris, full-time fire engineer, effective August 23rd, 2019, further approving him as a spare firefighter engineer effective that same date, August 23, 2019.
So moved.
Motion by Councillor Droba.
Second.
Second by Councillor Kraus. Discussion on the motion or the letter of resignation for Jacob Harris.
Mr. Mayor?
Please.
I think there was also a request here to execute a hiring process for that position in that letter. The bottom top paragraph.
Second sentence in the first paragraph.
Mr. Mayor. Okay, just got to get down to it here. So is the maker of the motion and the second approving having the posting of the position of firefighter engineer and executing the hiring process with the Fire Civil Service Commission? Is that
Yes.
acceptable in the
Yep.
motion?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. So we will include that in the motion, accepting the letter of resignation and approving the spare firefighter designation, as well posting the position of firefighter engineer and beginning the hiring process with the Fire Civil Service Commission. Any further discussion or questions?
Mr. Mayor,
Please, City Administrator.
I think for informational purposes, for full-time firefighter engineers, which are governed by the Fire Civil Service Commission, it's necessary to create a list of eligibles and then hire from that list of eligibles. And one of the Civil Service Commission members had spoke with me today, and I haven't had an opportunity to speak with the chief yet. I've been on vacation for a week, but my understanding is that they would initiate that process, but ultimately they would have to create a list of eligibles, and then a recommendation would be, I believe, forthcoming from the Civil Service Commission for hire at a future meeting.
Thank you. Questions or further discussion? Hearing none, question please.
Aye.
And I would vote yes. Motion is carried, and letter of resignation for Jacob Harris is accepted, and designating him as a spare firefighter, and approving the process for the Fire Civil Service Commission to begin the posting and testing for a firefighter engineer. Thank you. Item number 5 then is been added to the agenda, and that's a letter of support to the border-to-border broadband initiative. And
Right.
Councillor Droba, it was your
Yep.
request, and I'll let you carry that.
So KTI, the Kuching Technology Initiative, has been working with to try to get broadband to Kuching County and the outlying areas of International Falls. Paul Bunyan Communications has announced that they're going to be seeking grant funding for a broadband project in Kuching County. The first grant that they're seeking is through the IRRB, and it includes Kuching County and Kaptogama, and that is going to be due on the 21st. That information just came out last week. They also are seeking additional grants for Kuching County, which would be directly east, west, and south of International Falls for high-speed broadband through the border-to-border broadband program. If the city would be interested in writing a letter of support, I think if we have more broadband, we have more access to getting younger people into our area to utilize what we have in our backyard with the lake, the river, the woods, and being able to have technical positions that they're able to do from home or up here. So I think it's really important that we support Paul Bunyan in their move to try to relocate their high-speed fiber to our area. So I would make a motion to write a letter of support for Paul Bunyan Communications for their projects in Coochin County and Captogama.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion by Councillor Droba, a second by Councillor Kraus to write a letter of support to Paul Bunyan Communications for the border-to-border broadband initiative under the Couchiching Technology Initiative.
Correct.
Questions or discussions with regard to the motion or the letter of support? Please, Councillor
You said
Bullard.
Captogama too, right?
Correct.
Do they have their own initiative, or is Coochin County Initiative taking care of that too?
Coochin County, the KTI, when we first started to look at and identify areas that needed to be fulfilled, as we all know, right outside of International Falls is a vast majority of the population of Coochin County. North Home already has high-speed internet because they're so close to Bemidji and they've already been moved into there. Big Falls, believe it or not, is one of the best wired communities in our county. Little Fork has gotten access. International Falls has access. So it's just this area outside of International Falls. So 5 areas had been identified, and a vast majority of them were in Coochin County. It was legitimately just west of International Falls to the junction, east to Dove Island, south of International Falls from our city limits to approximately Browns Corner, the Ericsburg area, and then Ray to Captogama. And the first section that they're looking with the IRRB funding is that area from Ray, Minnesota to Captogama, and that was one area that they could get funding through IRRB because it meets more of that space. So that's why that piece is in the KTI, but we're trying to have that working relationship with Paul Bunyan Communications. If we can help them get into that area, we can get them back up in here to be able to go west, east, and south of International Falls.
And the reason I ask is just, if we're going to write a letter just to KTI, and Captogama has one yet too, we should be writing maybe not a letter, but if it covers everything.
Oh, you have air over there.
That's cool, pretty good.
It's nice.
No, they do not.
Further questions or discussion with regard to the letter of support to Paul Bunyan Communications? Hearing none, question.
Aye.
I would vote yes. Motion is carried, and the letter of support will be written. Thank you. Anything further under new business? Move to reports of boards, committees, and department heads. City Administrator, please.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. A couple of things I'd like to bring to the Council's attention. One was a request that I received through our Public Works Street Commissioner from Carrie Miggins of Rotary. And apparently they have some people set aside this week to do some work to help clean up and maintain the Riverview Park. I think they're interested in doing some raking and cleaning up of sand and that type of thing. Potentially, there's a couple of items that could be painted. And my recollection is after we had our town hall meeting, there was a discussion of having 3 different groups go out and research doing some work. Adopting a park was one of them, and it sounds like in my casual conversations with Councillor Droba that the only park that really was embraced for adoption was Riverview Park by Rotary. So they have some people available this week, and so I'm just looking to get council approval to move forward and allow those volunteers through Rotary to do the work for general maintenance, and to allow our street commissioner and park staff to assist in any way that might be necessary.
So moved.
Motion by Councillor Droba to allow the Rotary Club to work on general maintenance and cleanup of the Riverview Park. Second by Councillor Buller. Questions or discussions with regard to the motion or the Rotary Club doing that work?
Just
Councillor Drobo, please.
Just a little background for anyone that was not knowledgeable about it. This was one of the initiatives that came out of the town hall meeting on recreation, and it came down to a committee group of myself, Michelle Hebner from the school board, and Ashley Hall, which sits on the recreation board. We reached out to a host of nonprofits in our community, asking if they wanted to take over a park and be part of that. There was money set aside at the rec commission, $2,000 that could be utilized by these groups to take over a park and help clean it up and do events there. Of the groups that have came back, Rotary was the first to say that they wanted to adopt a park. The reason that they had picked Riverside is that's where they have the pavilion that they had purchased in the past. I think it's fantastic. One of the issues that I've always had with groups that want to go in and help clean or do things in our facilities is they're not contacting the city and letting them know what we're doing. And they did contact the city. They contacted Public Works with Ted Brokaw and gave them a heads up that they're going to be doing this and asking for any support or any needs that he has to do it as well. So I think although the process has not been defined 100%, and I think we do need to come up with a policy on how we do this in the future, I think that this is really good. We have people investing their time into our parks. They're going about it the right way by contacting the city, and I think it's just fantastic that we have an organization that's willing to go spend some of their time cleaning up a park, and I greatly appreciate what they're doing.
Thank you. Further questions or discussion?
Do we need to figure out what procedure they need to go through before they just contact Ted and say, I'm going in there tomorrow and fix up this park? I mean, it seems like it's kind of ridiculous that somebody can just, I'm going to go fix this park up tomorrow, Ted, okay? Well, Ted must have a plan for it or something, that the procedure they got to go through in order to get the right things done anyway.
And I completely agree with that. In fact, I did talk to Ted this afternoon very briefly about this specific issue, and I do think we need to come up with a better policy on how to do it, whether it's talk to the League of Minnesota Cities and see how other cities handle adopt the park. But this isn't a new concept in any capacity. I think we just need to have a process, maybe a weekend where we do it, or a better process. But I think that the fact that we started from a town hall meeting and we had a couple initiatives, and this is the first group to come forward and be willing to do it, I think we kind of are flying by our seat of our pants on this particular one. But I think that this is a good sign that we do have an organization that wants to be cleaning it. And I agree, we need to have a process.
Well, I think it's great too, but I just think that, if they would have come to Ted maybe 2 weeks ago and said, we're going to adopt this park, and we want to do it this weekend, what do you got there for us? And give them time to get things ready and go with it, But I just think the quickness of all of a sudden we're going to just do it, and it's like, I agree, it's great. I'm not against it one bit, but I just think we're the ones that are broke, not them. So we got
right. And to their credit, to Rotary's credit, it did come out at the last rec commission board that Rotary had signed up and they wanted to do it. So they had committed last month, but the ball had been dropped between the rec commission and then coming to our first meeting this month. So,
thank you.
And Councillor Droban, I guess my question would be to the city attorney or the city administrator with regard to, I guess, the liability for folks working on the city property. Is that kind of an approval that the council should be giving, approving them, working with the Public Works Department to maintain or help to maintain the park, and so that the city's general, I guess, liability might cover any issues that would occur there?
Well, I guess we'd have to check with the League of Municipal Cities to determine the insurance coverage, just to find out if we have approved somebody that's a volunteer there. I don't know if that would be covered or not. That'd be a question, for the league with regards to our insurance. In terms of, the city itself, I mean, we have coverage that protects us in case of a claim against us. And I don't see how the fact that these are volunteers doing it, there'd still have to be some negligence on the part of the city that would make us liable. The fact that it's just occurring at one of our playgrounds or parks isn't going to create liability unless we've failed to do something that we should have done or we're doing something that we shouldn't have done. I mean, if there's a dangerous condition that then, if one of these workers, for instance, fell in an open manhole or something that shouldn't have, it was dangerous to begin with, then we could have some liability. I would think if we checked with the league that there wouldn't be issues. If one of these volunteers were to injure somebody else or injure a citizen or be doing things, I mean, I don't think that would be the liability of the city just because they happen to be on property that's owned by us. It'd be an item worth checking on. I don't think it would be an issue that would preclude this from taking place.
Excuse me, I strongly support these organizations doing this. I mean, I think it's going to be very valuable to the city to get work done, but I just want to make sure that, because I would likely doubt that the organization's carrying any type of insurance on their members doing work there, and should someone have something happen, just want to make sure that things are being covered, that's all.
It wouldn't be a lot different than like the cleanup days that we have, where we have volunteers coming, people are participating, and we haven't sought specific insurance for them because they're this would be very similar. I think each individually, each incident would be looked at separately. Is there something the city failed to do that they should have done, or we did something that we shouldn't have? But I don't. It's not an issue that jumps out at me as that should be of concern to us.
Very good. Thank you. So your motion is to approve the Rotary Club doing general maintenance and work at the Riverview Park.
Correct.
Thank you. No further discussion? Question?
Aye.
Aye.
And I would vote yes. Motion is carried. Approval is given. Thank you. Further under new business?
Informational item, Mr. Mayor, for my report.
Yes.
I did receive a letter, which I opened yesterday, from the Marshall Knutson Family Community Fund. I believe the council or the city had submitted an application for grant funds from them to put some playground equipment out at City Beach, which is owned by the City of International Falls. And they said that they were sympathetic to the city's recreational needs, but they didn't find sufficient information to form an opinion on it, so they declined funding it now, but would welcome a more thorough proposal in the future. So we did not get funded as part of this grant cycle, and we can resubmit if that seems appropriate. So I just wanted to make sure the council was aware of that. And again, the letter was dated August 13th, and I got it yesterday. And then the final item is I'm just asking that the City Council, rather than adjourn this meeting today, that we recess the meeting and reconvene at 7:30 this evening to consider a possible recommendation from the Police Civil Service Commission, which will be meeting tonight in closed session at 6:30 p.m. So I'm not sure if a recommendation will be forthcoming or not, but I want to reserve the ability for the City Council to act on any recommendations that would come out of that commission. So I'm asking that we recess whenever this regular meeting agenda has been completed, and then reconvene at 7:30 to consider any recommendations that they might make, and then adjourn after we've considered that this evening.
Okay, so the request is to recess this meeting to 7:30 p.m. this evening to consider a possible recommendation from the Falls Police Civil Service Commission.
That's correct.
Thank you. Okay. Further under the administrator's report.
Nothing further for me, Mayor.
Thank you for your report, City Administrator. Move to the City Attorney, please.
I have nothing special to report, Mayor, other than that I have been working with the Civil Service Commission and advising them on the issue to be considered. That's all I have.
Very good. Excuse me, Councilor Droba.
Just something for the City Attorney. As we had discussed earlier about the town hall meeting for recreation and some of the projects that came out of that, one of the things that we found is that we don't have adequate agreements that are working with our partners in recreation in our community. And there was a form that was given, and we were wondering from the Rec Commission if this is something that the City Attorney could look at to verify that the agreements that we're going with Rainy River Community College and Bacchus meet our fair contracts, that no money is exchanged. We just want to make sure that the wording is correct, and just something that we could give the City Attorney to take a look at.
I'll be happy to look at them. I haven't seen them.
Okay, fair enough.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you, City Attorney. We'll go to department heads. Chief Maston, please.
I have no report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Chief Manassa?
Nothing at this time, Mayor.
Thank you. Move to the audience again. Anyone in the audience that has something to bring to the attention of the council at this time? If not, thank you. We will look at the items of correspondence. We have the letter from Bacchus thanking the city for the letter of support for the rural development grant that they received. 55% of the $60,000 request that they have in. Also, the letter from the Minnesota Board of Firefighter Training and Education, notification of additional training funds that have been received. Thank you. And then copy of the letter that was sent to the Koochian County Planning and Zoning Commission for the change of zoning and the conditional use permit for the extreme winter testing facility. Council have any questions with regard to any of those? And I don't think we have anything else that I have under the agenda. Our next regular City Council meeting will be Tuesday, September the 3rd, because of Labor Day being Monday, September the 2nd. So the council will meet here at 4:30 on Tuesday for the regular meeting, but we do have a special meeting next Monday, August the 26th, to consider the second reading of the ordinance on the contract with for the improvement of 14th Avenue and some other streets. There's nothing further to come before the council at this time.
Recess?
We'll recess. Do we need a motion to recess, or can the chair declare a recess to 7:30?
I think the chair can declare.
Chair would declare recess till 7:30 p.m. this evening. The City Council recessed at 5:15 and to await possible action from the Police Civil Service Commission, and they have not taken any action, or they will be continuing their discussions, and so there's no need for us to continue. There being 3 members of the City Council present, we have a quorum. Councilor Kraus needed to leave. His family is out of town, and so he is not here with us at this time. City Administrator, do you have any last comments?
I do. Thank you, Mayor, Council. Appreciate the Council's indulgence in recessing your regular meeting pending potential action from the Police Civil Service Commission, and in an open session after meeting in closed session, the board unanimously, a motion was made and then unanimously moved to have the city attorney inform the respondent's attorney and the city's labor attorney that there will be a hearing conducted by the Police Civil Service Commission, and that will be going forward on Wednesday, August 21st at 9:00 a.m. as it was originally planned. And by originally planned, that means that the hearing date will be in the council chambers, 3rd floor of the municipal building, starting at 9:00 on Wednesday, here to conduct a closed hearing. So that was the action that the commission took. It doesn't require any city council action at this time, and so you can move forward with adjourning the meeting if you choose.
Thank you. Councilors, any questions? Discussion? Hearing none, the chair would adjourn the meeting of the City Council meeting for Monday, August the 19th at 7:53.